And good morning, everybody. I'm Dr. Bonilla Velez. I'm a pediatric otolaryngologist at Seattle Children's with the University of Washington. And I have the distinct honor to introduce Dr. Wei for our talk today. She did her residency training at the Mayo Clinic in Rochester and then a 2-year fellowship at Lurie Children's Hospital in Chicago. She's a professor of otolaryngology, head and neck surgery at the University of Central Florida's College of Medicine, and currently serves as surgeon-in-chief in Nemours Children's Hospital in Orlando, and the division chief of pediatric otolaryngology, head and neck surgery, and audiology. She's the author of A Healthier Way, multiple book chapters and reviews on wellness and work-life integration. She launched the Healthy Kids Movement, which is a national campaign to create a paradigm shift in how providers and parents prevent, protect, and restore children's health, and has been a long-standing, passionate advocate and nationally and internationally renowned speaker on health and well-being in the medical community. So thank you, Dr. Wei, so much for being with us today and sharing your wisdom on wellness with all of us. And we're very excited for your talk.
Thank you for the introduction. All right. So once again, it's my honor and privilege to be part of this esteemed panel. My gratitude to the moderators and organizers for creating this forum. Dr. Bradford, thank you for making the topic of wellness one of the strategic pillars as our president. So my mission, whether I'm given 10 minutes, that's what I have today, or an hour, is to help all colleagues gain awareness, accountability, and understand why we must increase our own well-being. Taking action for self-care is going to be the most transformational change that you can make. Turns out we're all human and susceptible to illnesses, and I would argue more susceptible than non-physicians because of the chronic stressors we endure while doing things we're passionate about and taking care of others. I have to admit, I had never heard of nor knew that I was in such extreme high degree of burnout about 10 years ago. I did not know how to seek help. I did not know help myself, and no one talked about it back then. I had no idea my lack of well-being and frankly, never prioritizing or taking care of myself had negatively impacted not just me, but my husband, also named Dave, our marriage, our daughter. Can I just tell you that even though my resume looked like I was such a rock star, I was barely surviving. I wasn't thriving. Not being the best version of myself, despite of my resume and my achievements. I just wish I knew earlier what I'm going to share with you today. So before I discuss strategies on how we're going to increase well-being, I believe it's so important for all of us together to acknowledge the immeasurable grief and tragedy that has been caused by the current ongoing global pandemic. This collage highlights the extraordinary frontline workers around the world and in your community and country today. And yet there are these aerial photos of mass graves in Brazil, or whether it's the morgues in the United States, and images of people remembering colleagues who lost their lives while saving others. And while the reality of the vaccinations is giving us hope, this is not over yet. So it turns out the COVID-19 pandemic fulfills the DSM criteria for a traumatic event. And so we already were dealing with significant issues related to physician burnout, depression, anxiety, and lack of physician well-being. And there's actually research evidence of a clear gender-specific difference where there is absolutely greater challenges for women, as we are the typical primary caretakers at home, and we have more household responsibilities even though we're professionals. Physical and social distancing has negatively eroded our well-being for sure. Children's hospitals across the US are facing even worse financial challenges than adult systems because the lack of volume, and it's a good thing because children are healthier, but layoffs, pay cuts, all this makes it seem like individual well-being seems out of reach. I want to share with you that wellness and well-being are actually not synonymous. they have different definitions. Wellness is actually the realization of every individual to their fullest potential in all dimensions and how we're able to fulfill our role expectations in family, community, and all settings. Well-being is the experience that we have of being happy, healthy, or prosperous. But it is only possible if we have good mental health, high life satisfaction, if we're socially connected, and we have that sense of purpose that Dr. Bradford kept talking about. And you can't do any of that if you don't have the ability to manage stress and you are not well. So while this graphic depicts a female, I want to be clear, this is applicable to both men and women. And I have to disclose, I've always secretly resented the term work-life balance, but I didn't understand why until now. Balance implies a binary opposition between work and life, and it creates the sense of competition between the two. So for years, I too preached to myself and other people how we all have to achieve greater work-life balance. And in fact, I was feeling ashamed because my inner voice was kind of telling me, well, if you just do more or do the right things, I may actually achieve this elusive balance that we all talk about. So for me, it's like I had this image that I'm sitting in lotus position, eyes closed on a white sand beach in order to achieve balance, but that was never at home and never at work. So I can't just sit on a beach forever. So the better, more realistic term is work-life integration. This is actually how we experience our daily lives. We live a synergy between professional and personal life. That's the demands on both sides. This past month has been an absolute nightmare for my family and I. My mother broke her hip. They live in Los Angeles. And oh my goodness, after emergency surgery, finally finding a skilled nursing facility, got her there, she contracted COVID. She's doing fine. She finally made it home 2 nights ago. But I'm gonna tell you, for the last 30 days, I lived the real integrated life. All of you would have been doing the same thing. I'm making countless phone calls between surgeries, clinic patients to a time zone 3 hours behind me. Thank goodness I'm a physician who can advocate and I diagnose her pneumonia, right? But I really believe we have to think differently. We have to accept the fact that work and life has never occurred separately because of a clock. So we need to create that mental flexibility, because in reality, you're managing both the best you can any given moment. That's your reality. And I will say that I remember, I'm old now, I'm 50 this year. Okay, I'm not old, I'm just peaking. But decades ago, and I literally have heard this, there were male surgeons in the prior generation that will brag that he wasn't there for his own child's birth. In fact, one said he sent his resident in his place. But today, men and women expect to experience work and life to the fullest extent. The problem is, unfortunately, we spend a disproportionate amount of time at work, away from the loved ones, and we certainly don't have time that we're actively devoting to ourselves. This is why you must be intentional about how you spend every moment when you're away from work. And I'm going to always emphasize why when you carve out time for yourself, it's not selfish, but it is the most important thing for you to achieve any of your passion, vision, dreams, etc. Okay, so here comes the strategy part. You know that term, put your own mask on first, put on your own oxygen first. I'm going to tell you, I get really annoyed every time the flight attendant says it before the flight takes off. You know why? Because the first reaction from Julie Wei is, da, 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 da. Yeah, we know that. We know that. But I got to tell you, our internal voice is very stubborn. If you think you're not in denial, I'm going to challenge you that you are. Because in medicine and surgery, we're raised to believe that we do everything for everybody else first. Okay, I don't care how smart and what a great ENT you are and physicians around the world. Most of us don't even know what self-care means, or we think we do. So it turns out we've been hypoxic for years. So I'm going to call that out. This is what I have learned, and I'm still learning. Meditation, 20 minutes a day, and physical exertion, 20 minutes every day, or as close to as possible. You can do it in 20 minutes continuously or 5 to 10-minute chunks. The reason this is critical, this last year I learned it more than ever. It modulates your emotion and reactivity. You have to learn how to breathe. We all do it. We just aren't aware we're breathing. And I used to think, oh, what is wrong with me? I don't know how to meditate. My husband says I'm the worst Asian Buddhist, right? Because I can't slow down. So you know what really helped me is the Calm app. Okay, that's a great, best $59 per year I've ever spent. When you learn how to breathe, which is the only thing that activates your parasympathetic system, it cures so many physical things and align your brain and your physicality. And I'm going to call out that as surgeons, I think I've overactivated my sympathetics all the time because we never have enough time. Okay. I love writing. Write in a journal. Be still. Hear your inner thoughts. I found out this last year more than ever that reflection is the secret to experiencing having some control and autonomy. So you hear the word mindfulness, mindfulness. It's not just some pretty magazine cover photo. You know, for me, I have been on this 10-year journey. Mindfulness for me is realizing I'm more than enough. I am good enough. I'm better than that. I am enough just by being present today for my patients, colleagues, trainees, community, neighbors. You know, and when I slow down and focus on breathing, I found that there's this space. It's very hard to describe. And what it has done is it gives me amazing capacity to care for other people without burning myself out. So I was always the giver, you know, I didn't know how to preserve myself. And be mindful of the social media and media we are all consuming, especially in the United States, given what's been going on. Okay. I'm going to encourage you. This is very hard for me to do, but I hope you can be better at it than I have been. Cut out the non-essential activities from work and life if they're not aligned with your purpose. Okay. And that includes relationships. You got to invest time and energy on relationships and skills you want to grow. And if nothing else, just do more of what you love and enjoy in hobbies and back to that 20 minutes of meditation and physical exertion. I want to encourage all of you. We're all grown adults, you're physicians. Be accountable for your nutrition and lifestyle habits. You heard it from Dr. Bradford earlier. Cut the crap. Don't make excuses. Stop the soda, the sugar, the fast foods. And I don't mean never. I'm not a vegan. And yes, I like sugar sometimes. Okay. And the big thing I want to call out is that 2020 is a year. I'm confident most people, physicians, or not, drink more alcohol than ever before. Because somehow your inner voice says you need it to help you relax, right? If you want to feel great, if you want to be physically healthy, because it turns out your body, your mind, you are all you have. That's it. Then you need to really be accountable. Take small steps, make changes, little bit, one at a time, but do something. Otherwise, you can't expect a different outcome. Okay. So I've also learned that you got to name your emotion. The reason you name your emotion and you ask why. I won't read the whole poem to you. This is one of my favorite poems, which I hope you'll enjoy. It's called The Guest House by Rumi. Do not let the negative emotions become permanent squatters. Okay. You welcome them as guests and escort them out. And you are able to sit with them. Gratitude. You write down 3 things every single day that you're grateful for. Pretty simple, but I need the 3 to be who, what, and 1 thing about yourself. And you need to find 1 single person at least every single day to affirm by email, text, or call, because expressing gratitude to others and to yourself and doing it every day, it's evidence-based. It increases resilience, has lasting positive effects on your mental health. And you can try the Day One app on your phone if that makes it easier. I cannot emphasize this slide enough. I'm an immigrant from an Asian culture where we don't talk about emotions. In fact, I never heard the words "I love you" from my own parents, right? So despite the academic achievement, all the strive came from a place that wasn't healthy and was empty. Is trying to earn affirmation and feeling like I am worthy to be loved and feel loved. And it's not that my parents don't love me, it's just a big cultural difference. I've been here since age 10. And I'm going to tell you, in the past 25 years, I have grown and am who I am today, able to commit to serving others because I've had intermittent counseling and self work and growth. So last year, I invested again in marital counseling, my husband and I, and in individual counseling. And I'm going to tell you right now, the reason we all need counseling and coaching is not because we're broken, and it's not because we're not doing enough. It's because as long as you continue to live and breathe a career in medicine and surgery, bearing witness and being a part of the human suffering, and each of us have endured pain and trauma in our own lives, some more than others. As long as that's your reality, then this can only help you. So let me share that my proudest achievement in the past 2 years, and maybe career-wide, is I created an immediate access line 24/7, 365 with psychologists on call for residents, physicians, and advanced practitioners. This line in our hospital has actually saved lives because physician suicide is real. And it helps so many physicians start therapy that they desperately need it, but never admitted to themselves and never knew how to get there. So yeah, I'm proud that I did that. So despite our reality, I'm choosing optimism. And I wrote this during the darkest 30 days as I share with my mom. And I hope you'll have a chance to go to ENT today, where I'm honored to have space to share my thoughts. This article explains the actual medical physiologic benefits of optimism. And I have several other articles about sentinel events, etc., under the Department of Prescription for Wellness. Humans are incredibly resilient. And despite the pandemic, I've just put a collage of some examples, right, of what people do. Free lunches for people, positive affirmations for healthcare workers. Look at these two throwing parties at nursing homes to boost morale. People who have resources that they use to transport medical supplies. And then the Italians during quarantine from their balcony, sharing music and messages of positivity. Okay. And we humans are very adaptable. We didn't want to be, but we sure did. We otolaryngologists learned how to use telehealth, and so did other physicians. We use Zoom for personal and professional connection. People all over are juggling work remotely while managing virtual school for the kids. And even my beautiful 3-year-old niece who goes to preschool in California wears a mask every day. Our academy has created incredible COVID-19 specific resources, including podcast series that I'm honored that I was able to contribute to. So I put up here episode 13 that has more information about resilience and well-being. This is the book I'm currently reading that just speaks to me, and I hope you will get it. It's by Dr. Vivek Murthy, called Together. It's on the healing powers of human connection. What I love is he articulated why loneliness is the basis for a public health epidemic, including depression, obesity, opioid addiction, hypertension, cardiovascular disease, and that true, deep human connection in every possible experience is what heals us. On the individual level, I will tell you, it's learning now the time and commitment to myself, because I don't have an option if I want to keep helping people, other people besides me. I need to be as well as I can be. And so for me, it involves nature and self-care. I chase sunrise and sunsets as many days as possible in my life, and this is in my neighborhood in Lake Nona. These two photos, and I have thousands of them, they remind me that while the view is different every day, there is so much healing and beauty in nature and in humanity. So thank you for this time. I hope you will be well, be safe, stay connected, and I can be of service to all of you.
Wow. Thank you so much for your just so empowering and beautiful talk. I'm sure many of us, I could see the faces, were like so deeply touched, and we really appreciate you sharing so much of your wisdom and your personal experiences with us. That was just wonderful. And so how do you control the guilt when using time for activities not related to work?
I know exactly what you're talking about. This deep-seated need to prove that Julie Wei is someone special and worth loving I didn't even deal with guilt. For me, my reality was, I had infertility. That's a whole other topic. And I know now today I went through that because I didn't take care of myself. I didn't eat. I didn't sleep. Everything, my academics and my social media, not as good as Dr. Kim's, everything I ever did was nights and weekends. The greatest mistake I made, if I could go back 20 years, 25 years, is I should have been resting and understanding the concept that strategic recovery, just like you plug in your cell phone at night or tomorrow, it's not going to work. So guilt, it's a useless emotion. It's not going to serve your purpose. You acknowledge it, welcome it as a guest into your house, and you say, Julie Wei, I think I feel guilty. What is that about? Reflect on that and then let it go. Next.
The next question is, how do you really figure out what is non-essential? Everything seems important.
Oh my gosh, do you know me? You must be my twin, separated at birth, whoever this person is. I read the book by Greg McKeown called Essentialism. Easy read. You can sign up for a 1-minute essentialism. I can't. I'm not the best person to give you advice. Maybe the others on the panel will. Over the years, here's what I'm going to tell you. Now that I've had not only counseling, executive coaching, learning how to reflect, the reason I'm so passionate is I could have done something different. I'm going to publicly disclose I had suicidal thoughts 10 years ago. And I'm going to tell you, I'm grateful that instead of doing that, I hung in there, figured it out. And I took my source of pain and turned it into something. And I'm still struggling. What you need to do is just make time to really understand yourself, where you're coming from. And then every single time, everybody always says, say no, say no. That's like telling someone going through infertility, just relax. Could not have hated those comments more. How do you say no, and when to say no and yes is something I think should be in the curriculum for residents, fellows, and everybody. So here's what I've learned. Anytime it's something you're not really passionate about, you got to say no, because Doug Gerard taught me that it will take you twice as long to do that. You say yes to the things you're like, this is aligned with my publicly self-declared passion. Then I say yes. So hence all the people asking me to give talks and grand rounds on this topic, right? Say no to things like, don't ask my daughter who's not home right now. For all the birthday parties we don't go to, because many years ago I asked, how important is this to you? We literally as a family sit down and talk about how important is it? These are the words we use at home. Is this a relationship we want to invest in? Because if people are like, nope, mommy send a decline, we'll send a gift, thanks. So I don't have that answer. It's different for everyone. You just need to make time, write it out, talk it out with the family. You can let a lot of things go, because it turns out, God forbid, if your loved one had cancer, if you had cancer, if you had COVID, all of a sudden it seems so easy to let everything go. So it's just a matter of perspective. Thank you.
Thank you. And I think I'll just do one more. How do you get the people around you to understand and buy into making changes to be less stressed and healthier?
I'm trying to be concise in answering that. So stress is not all bad. Stress is essential for growth. Okay, people around you. Okay, let's start there. You can only control one human, one realm, and your whole sphere of who you are and how you show up. For your husband, family, children, parents, at work, your community. So what you need to do is, I hope this talk is helpful, and the strategies that you take care of you first. When you are well and you're not running around like a chicken cut off, with the head cut off, and I'm so stressed. It's like this word that proves your human worth. Because if you're not stressed, you must be a lazy, unproductive, unworthy faculty, whatever, right? You figure out how you are well. So when you have the hardest days, when you are tired, you understand, and you gotta have self-compassion. You gotta stop judging and stop talking to yourself in a way that's not helpful. You have to say, man, that sucked. And by the way, I just watched on Netflix, The History of Swear Words. This may not be sanctioned by this forum. Love it, love it. First episode on the F word, physiologically evidence-based proven on boosting resilience. Okay, anyways, back to the topic. You figure that out. Then all of a sudden, you show up in a space, day and night, wherever you are, in a way that will influence people by modeling action, spoken, unspoken words. So the reason I didn't even deny, I went back into therapy. We go into marital therapy is I can tell when I'm not well, crying a lot, not just, very negative. Instead of you're hopefully getting that the better version of Julie Way can light a world on fire. I can make anything happen. But without doing the things that I said I would do, and I fell off the wagon. And by the way, Dr. Bradford's an excellent tennis player. She inspired me 3 years ago to commit to that without feeling guilty about finally on Saturday, I'm not on call. I got to be with my miracle pregnancy child. Forget all that. My husband knows when mommy goes out and hits the ball as hard as possible and get anger management, all of a sudden the weekend goes better for everyone. So I hope that answers your question. I could talk about this for days, but thank you for the time that I do have. And I'm just so excited to be a part of some work that the Academy's doing because Dr. Bradford cares about this for all of our members. So
Thank you so much, Dr. Wei.